Hello, mutants. I'm Utisha, the movie goddess, and you're watching Mutant TV.
Well, I moved to Bowling Green when I was 5 years old, and my parents and I came from northern New York. We were Yankees. We were completely out of place in the Jim Crow South of 1953. So I will say to you, everything that I learned about evil, I learned in that little town.
All right. Okay, so just to warm everything up and get a little bit loose, I'd like to play a little game with you if I could.
Hey.
Yeah, maybe it'll be fun, maybe not. We'll see. So you've recently come off your big screen sabbatical with The Ward, and since you've been sort of out of circulation, there have been a few trends that have come in the world of horror. And just either as a filmmaker or as a fan, I'll just name some of them off, and if you can just give us your opinion or no opinion at all. So the first thing I'd like to ask you about is 3D.
I was around for the first craze, and I loved it then, and not so much.
Right on. Okay, how about torture-based horror? Also known
Not
as
a
torture
fan.
porn.
Not a fan. Thank you very much.
Now, how about Asian horror with ghosts?
Some of them are good. Some of them are really good. I will say there's one trend in horror that I've noticed is that everybody now can make a horror movie. And everybody makes one. So it isn't special anymore. That's too bad. That I find sad. Because there's no magic anymore. All you guys can make horror films, and you should. But there's nothing special about it.
Okay, so further to that point of kind of homemade films, how do you feel about found footage movies or shaky cam, that sort of thing?
Fine.
All right, now here's one that might be a little contentious. How do you feel about the illegal downloading of your movies and other filmmakers?
Well, that's taking money from my pocket. I don't like that too much. It's not good. I need money. I want money. At least send me money.
So I mentioned The Ward. I just want to ask the crowd, anybody here seen The Ward? Anybody? Not yet. A few people in the back.
Huge release, wasn't it?
Downloaders. That's it. I'm at the theater every weekend. I managed to see Survival of the Dead in the theater. I cannot find The Ward. I'm just wondering.
The Ward was, it's a special kind of distribution. It's a secret release. They figured, why advertise and tell you where it's playing when they can keep it a secret? And you will never get to see it. It's an unusual kind of strategy, but.
And the people in the back who did manage to catch it, did you download it? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's pretty much all the questions I have. I think we should, we should open up to the floor. So, like I said, just come on up to the microphone in the center of the aisle. Don't be shy. Make a lineup, and you may want to not ask him to badmouth any of the remakes, because I've tried getting him to do that, and he's not been.
Okay, I had kind of a quick two-part question. The first one is, what actually inspired you to get into the genre? And then, what advice do you have for anybody that's actually looking to make a decent horror movie nowadays?
Well, I got in this business to make westerns. And I got typecast as a horror director after Halloween. So my dream was to have a career in directing movies. And so I went where they wanted me to go. My advice to you is don't just try to get in the genre. Fall in love with cinema and storytelling cinematically. And let that be your first love. And don't just try genre things. And don't imitate anybody. Be original.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How you doing, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. It was a pleasure meeting you yesterday.
Nice to meet you.
Listen, I just want to ask you, besides Halloween, what is your other favorite film that you've done? Horror or sci-fi or whatever?
I have no favorites.
You have any favorites?
I can't look at any of them. I see all the mistakes. I will see a glance of a movie I've directed on television and say, what is that shit? What was I doing? What was I thinking?
Well, I just want to say my two personal favorites are Escape from New York and The Thing.
Good man.
Mr. Carpenter, just wondering if, being from Bowling Green, if anything particular to Kentucky or the area that you drew on, or any of your films that you wrote or directed, names
The
or
street names. If you see some of my earlier films, I named streets and characters after people I went to high school with, and streets in the small town, things like that.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
First of all, thanks for being here this weekend. It's been really cool.
Thank you.
You know, I know you're a big fan of Westerns, and that's really clear. And saw on Precinct 13, and you mentioned earlier you're a fan of Westerns. So a couple questions. One, who are some of your favorite Western directors? And then two, do you have any plans or interested in making a Western of your own in the future? Because I think a John Carpenter Western would totally kick ass.
Well, to answer the second question, I'm right now working on a little Gothic Western. We'll see if we can get it set up.
Cool.
It's hard to sell Westerns these days, meaning it's hard to raise money because they're not real commercial. My favorite director of all time is Howard Hawks.
Right.
He's directed a bunch of Westerns. John Ford is pretty good.
Yeah.
Bud Bedecker.
What do
So
you think?
the old timers.
Oh, I love that. What about Leone? You like Leone?
No, I love him.
All right.
Once Upon a Time in the West is a fabulous movie.
Yeah. Great film.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Thanks for coming, sir. And they're actually going to have You're the Thing down at the Kentucky Theater in Lexington in October.
Excellent.
Glad it's coming. I was wondering, I guess I've noticed that a lot of European and British DVD releases actually have a ton of supplements. I've enjoyed every commentary I've listened that you've done on a DVD release, but for Starman and for They Live, is there some reason they don't try to release all of that material that you can find overseas here? Or?
I don't know. I really don't know why they choose which movies to do a commentary on. Roddy Piper and I did a commentary on They Live for Europe only. Maybe the studios that own the films that are putting them out don't think it's worth it. I don't know.
Hopefully I've got the opportunity to listen to the one that you did with Jeff Bridges for
Demand. Go to the studios and demand they release my commentary. Demand it.
Thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
And just to carry that forward on your commentaries, I think you're probably one of the most technically oriented with regard to your commentaries of any director I've heard on DVDs.
Oh, thank you.
Remarkable skill set. And just to carry that forward, among some of the newer technologies that have started coming out, digital instead of film, and they're talking about 48 frames per second and all that. Is there anything that you're hearing now that you think that would make a good marriage with the kind of vision that you have with that 70mm film? You seem to capture scenes so well in that 70mm frame, more than almost anybody out of Hollywood. And I wondered if there were any of those technologies that you really think could work with your style today.
I don't see why not. I love widescreen, so I like to shoot in widescreen. That doesn't matter if it's to me. It doesn't matter if it's digital or film. I happen to personally love film that's shot through a Panavision lens. It's a magical film. It's a big hunk of glass. I don't know if you know how cinemascope or Panavision works, but the glass squeezes the image. And when you project it, it unsqueezes it. There's two different lenses. And somewhere in that process, magic happens on screen. It's just unbelievable.
And just to follow up, you have some of the best lens flares that have ever been put on film.
That used to be a mistake. But look, ever since cinematic storytelling has not changed since the 1930s and 40s. It's still all the same. It's still one shot at a time. It's a camera crew, sound, actors, makeup, it's all basically the same. It's what you do with it. So the new tools, digital, we're using computers, they're all tools for you to work with.
I really enjoyed the episode you did for the Masters of Horror series, and I was very impressed with that whole series. I was just wanting to see if you had any interesting things to talk about working with Mick Garris and being involved in that, and if there were any of the other episodes that some of the other directors had done that really impressed you, and maybe why.
Well, this all came out of, we used to get together for dinners, Masters of Horror dinners. A bunch of us would get together and insult each other and tell dirty jokes. And Mick Garris came up with this genius idea of getting us all to work, basically for nothing. And we stupidly said yes, so up we go to Vancouver. We shoot these 1-hour episodes. They were a lot of fun to make. We still haven't gotten any money for it. I can't understand it. Everybody's rich but me. Everybody. Everybody's good. Everybody who works on it is good.
Hi.
How you doing?
Love you, you're awesome. Who has been your favorite actor or actress that you have most enjoyed working with? And was it about their abilities as an actor or personally?
Well, I love a bunch of different actors that usually when they make my job easy, I really like. Kurt Russell, Sam Neill, Jeff Bridges, they all came with it. They all were ready to go every day. They knew exactly how to play their parts. They were incredibly talented. I just worked with a really talented actress, Amber Heard, is a young actress, really, really talented. So I suppose those would be my favorites. You're welcome. Hey.
Hello, thank you so much for coming out.
Absolutely.
Great event.
Pleasure.
I hope you're enjoying the show. In 2005, I thought your episode of Masters of Horror was fantastic. It was probably the best horror movie made that year. I'm very much looking forward to the award. My question is, I'm a storyteller myself. I love how each movie you change up and jump to a different genre or a different subgenre. Like you didn't just stick with slashers after Halloween. You jumped to ghost stories, killer cars, all the way up to cosmic horror. And speaking of cosmic horror, In the Mouth of Madness and both your Masters of Horror, it seems to be the only subgenre that you've kind of revisited. Do you consciously try to skip from genre to genre or subgenre to subgenre with each project? And also, what is your biggest horror influence?
Well, my movie influences, horror and otherwise, are all from the 1950s when I grew up as a kid. I think you fall in love with movies and music and everything when you're really young. And those movies and those pieces of music that you hear on the radio are really powerful. And they stay with you the rest of your life. That's where my influence came from. In terms of jumping, I just look for good stories. That's the essence of movies, is a good story. But as a director's just a storyteller. So I look for something hopefully different to do. Something I haven't done before, try something new. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes I fail at it, but I like to keep trying new things.
Do you have a favorite subgenre?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Women in prison movies. Do I appear to be a badass? Well, I don't know. Maybe it's my way I was raised, or maybe, I don't know. But authority is always, I'm always suspicious of authority. Every kind of authority. It was terrible when I became a parent because I was the authority. How dare you question me? Break my personality. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to think. Don't tell me where to stand. Leave me alone. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Carpenter. I would like to know about Halloween. It's such a classic, and of course, it started Jamie Lee Curtis's career off. Did you realize it was going to become such a big success? It was independent production, And did you realize it was going to be such a phenomenal success that it is?
We had no clue. We're just trying to make a movie. We're just a bunch of young kids. Just barely knew what we were doing. Nobody had any idea.
Hello, Mr. Carpenter. We had an opportunity to speak yesterday about Rob Bottin. I don't know if you remember. Something you said in, my name is Michael Plumies. I'm here with Ghost Trek. My girlfriend and I watched together your featurette about the thing, and your first experience with a big studio was the thing. You said you had more time than you had ever conceived that you would to produce the thing, etc. How much waste was involved? And from your experiences we're jumping from the indie world, and that nobody was doing that then, jumping from the indie world to the production world within Universal or within whomever, Paramount or whoever it is. What were the downfalls, the setbacks, and what were the positive aspects of those? And what advice do you have to young filmmakers that are heading in that direction?
Well, any young filmmaker who's on his way to make a studio movie, I say congratulations. It's really hard to do. You've got to remember that when I worked at Universal, it was a different company than it is today. With different people running it, and it had a different mindset. Vastly different. The movie business has changed enormously. So they were very generous with their time. And it was great. We didn't want for anything. We had great sets built. We shot up in Glacier in British Columbia, shot in Alaska in the snowfields. They gave us extra time to do the special effects. That wouldn't happen today. Today, you're making a product. Studios release product. That's the way they look at it. They have meetings to decide whether your project gets greenlit. And they have a head of every department sitting in there. And each one of them tells you how much they think it's going to make. That's all they care about. Profit and loss. That's all they care about. They don't care about the movies so much.
They're not out to make art these days, you're saying?
Well, they've never been out to make art. They call it show business, not show art. They're out to make money, dude.
No, I understand.
It's all about money. And when you can make money for them, they love you. And when you don't, they don't love you.
We want to thank you for coming here. This is fantastic.
You're welcome.
And I really appreciate you answering my question. Thank you very much.
You're
Go check
welcome.
at 5:30, y'all.
Hi, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
It was super cool to meet you earlier. I just wanted to thank you for coming out, just same with everybody else. My question is, I recently had the opportunity to see The Ward, and I really did like it. I don't know if you've recently seen Shutter Island, which was Scorsese's.
I did. No, I have not seen it. I've heard about it. That's my movie.
It's worth a lot.
The Board is Shutter Island. If you've seen Shutter Island, don't bother watching The Board. It's a lower budget version without the big stars.
I was gonna reference that. It reminded me a whole lot of that, which also Shutter Island reminded me of Hitchcock. It's so many fashions, the music, the feel, and I was just wondering if that was like your inspiration for the.
I didn't know about Shutter Island. I shot The Board.
I mean Hitchcock. Was Hitchcock like?
Oh, Hitchcock, of course.
Yeah. I really
Inspires
like it.
everybody.
And I hope they give it a bigger release because it's worth seeing for sure. I liked it.
Well,
Good
I'm
job.
glad you think so. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
John, first of all, thanks for coming.
All right,
And
you're welcome. Don't anybody thank me again for coming.
my question
You're welcome.
is, you mentioned your love for cowboy movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And your success with horror. Have you ever considered a horror western?
No, that doesn't really work. I mean, maybe Cowboys and Aliens will work this summer. You guys want to see that movie? No? Yes? Yeah. Well, that may work. They tried that in the old days. They tried, it was Jesse James versus Frankenstein and Billy the Kid meets Dracula. You know those, that double bill? Terrible. No, you wanna, no. Western should be a Western. That's what I think.
Hello. Okay. What is your current opinion about the state of current genre? And let's use the word genre so we don't just limit it to horror. But current genre films, period. What's good, what's bad, what they're doing right, maybe what needs to be improved, and just your feelings on the way it is today, maybe versus how it was when you started out.
Genre movies, horror films, science fiction movies, have always have the same quality. Every year after year. Most of them are bad. A few of them are fair, and very few are good. That's never changed. Of course, that's true of all movies. How simple an answer that?
You inspired me as a director who could score and direct at the same time and do it well. I was wondering what motivated you to do both roles? So take out both the director and score, and what were some of your musical influences? What kind of
I grew up with music. My dad was a music teacher. He was a PhD in music and composed. But I did it myself because I was cheap and I was fast. We couldn't afford music.
Maybe I think that the Halloween theme has become, of all of one of those classic horror themes, music themes ever written, no matter.
Well, thank you.
So I mean, it's a pretty.
I would like to point out to you the theme from Psycho. I would also like to point out to you the theme from Jaws.
Certainly.
The
But you're right up there with
horror theme.
One of my things that I love about your movies is the music scores. And
Sorry, I didn't understand you. I'm sorry.
one of the things I love about your movies is your music scores in them.
Thank you.
And I have to say, Halloween is definitely my favorite music score. So my question is, did you ever think that score would become as classic as it is and well known?
No, absolutely not. That score was done in 3 days. And I had enough money to go into a recording studio with a guy from SC who taught electronic music. And he had these old tube machines where you had to tune each one of them up before you could play them. And a piano. And that was all we had time for. Man, I was just trying to finish a movie. Nobody thought it was going to be great. Nobody thought you'd remember it. And it's where I was in the right place at the right time. I was really, really lucky.
Hi, Mr. Carpenter.
Hey.
I wanted to ask you, this is kind of this to deal with the previous person, right heading, but anyways, I want to ask you, the music in your films, I thought was absolutely brilliant, top notch, and I wanted to know Halloween among several of your other films. I guess I wanted your opinion on. I guess do you know which of your films would you say is your favorite musical score?
I would have to say Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are you? I've never heard you talk about They Live in an interview or anything in a commentary. Do you have any fun stories about They Live that you can share?
Fun stories?
Yeah, good story, comical stories, any sort about making the film.
Wow. Not particularly.
Fight scene? Gigantically long fight scene.
Sorry?
How was it to film that fight scene with Keith David?
Oh, the fight scene, yeah, the 10-minute fight scene. Well, that was a lot of fun to do. I cast Roddy Piper, who was a wrestler, and so let's put a fight scene in this thing, and let's put a long one in this thing. So we started rehearsing. It takes about a month and a half to rehearse a good fight. And in the backyard of my now wife's house. And they worked it out. And Keith David was not a fighter, just an actor. And they worked so hard, they were making contact when we shot the scene, which is great. They really put out. So I'm really proud of the fight.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Line's getting shorter. I have to keep coming up. Okay, anyway, what about newer, younger directors? Are there any out there, genre or otherwise, that really impress you with their work? And kind of adding in that, of the films you've made that haven't been remade yet, are there any that you're maybe curious to see remade? And maybe any younger directors out there that you'd maybe like to see give it a shot at and see what they could do with it? Anything like that?
My favorite, there's a lot of really talented directors. Guillermo del Toro is enormously talented. David Fincher is enormously talented. There are a lot of, Chris Nolan has a lot of talent. And I don't care if they're remakes or not. If you're going to make a movie, make your own film. But it can be a remake of anything. Just make it yours. And try to tell something personal in the movie. Hey.
Mine's a couple of parts. It kind of brings along with what you were just saying about making the film your own. Talking about like Halloween, the way it's changed. If you were in any which way involved after writing 3, what direction would you have taken the series if you would have continued with that?
I didn't think there was any more story after the first one. That tells you how stupid I am. They're still cranking those things out. But I do have a role in every time they make a Halloween movie, and it's my favorite role in the movie business. Now here's how it goes. I'm sitting on my couch, usually watching an NBA game, and I read, oh, they're going to start shooting a new Halloween movie. So I put my hand out like this. Somebody comes by with a check, and they drop it in my hand. I say, thank you very, very much. This is what I've wanted to do my entire life, is find a way to make money doing absolutely nothing. So I'm very happy about the sequel. I did a
great job. And with Halloween 2 and Halloween 3, you ended up kind of incorporating a little bit more of like the lore, the pagan holiday. Is that what you were wanting to do with the...
Man, I had to write a script. I had a 6-pack of beer. I wasn't trying to do anything. I was pressure, you understand? I had to write something I didn't give a shit about. I didn't care.
We're not giving a shit about it. It was some really great films, great time, so I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Sir, I was wondering, is there ever, I guess, a pitch battle with the studio that stands out in your mind for an edit or for a movie that you wanted to make that you weren't given the opportunity to at the last minute?
No, not about a movie I wanted to make, but I've had pitch battles with studios before. They weren't fun. They always win, though. They're the authority figures. They always win. They have money. They always win.
Hello, Mr. Carpenter. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Yourself?
I'm doing great. I just one's a silly question. Have you ever seen the episode of South Park where they did a shot-for-shot remake of the fight scene from They Live?
I've heard about it. Haven't seen it.
It is amazing. It's between two. It's a cripple fight between, and they copied the fight scene from They Live, and it goes on for almost a full 10 minutes.
Right.
You got to check it. It's hilarious. And the second thing was, are you happy that Halloween 3 has gotten something of a resurgence in the last few years and is finally getting some respect that it deserved a long time ago?
Yeah, I think that's neat. That movie was unduly trashed when it came out, and it was directed by a friend of mine, and it was a neat little film.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome.
And no thanks for coming here whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I had kind of a question. One of the first memories that I haven't seen a horror movie was watching Prince of Darkness. And I still remember, I didn't see it in the big screen, I watched it on TV, and I remember that very last scene where the guys reached out to the mirror, and I was just sitting there paralyzed with fear when the movie ended, and I'm like, wow, it's beautiful. But I have a question, it's kind of silly, but the whole idea about having this big jar that's full of the green, sort of, ancient stuff, who came up with that? I mean, where did that come from? Because even when I watch it, I'm like, wow, it's kind of random. Who came up
Kind of
with
random?
Yeah, I mean,
I never heard that before. Well, I came up with it. And it was in a random kind of movie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, John. You worked with Superman himself, the late great Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you had any fond memories of working with him.
Well, that was the movie that right before he had his accident. That's the last work he did. He was a complicated person. I liked Chris very much. I wouldn't say it was always pleasant, but I have fond memories of him, and I think he did a great performance.
Yeah, you did. Thank you.
Welcome.
Regarding Big Trouble in Little China, I really like that film a lot. And,
Thank you.
And I was wondering, it seemed to come out before all the Asian films started really getting big, and it became, now we're all familiar with John Woo and all these different Asian films. Had you seen some of this stuff, and then that helped, and when you got that project going, or is that just something that was brought to you, or were you privy to seeing that stuff earlier before all of us saw it in the theaters and on video? Or?
Well, back in the early 70s, Kung Fu movies came to the United States with a movie called Five Fingers of Death. And they were playing everywhere. They were playing in Times Square, they were playing in LA. And they were fabulous. They were innocent, they were fabulous action, but they had this innocence to them. And some of them were magical, almost like the Wizard of Oz. They had these wild sorcerers, they were flying around. Sure, I saw all that. That's why I wanted to make the movie.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Finally, a babe comes to mind. Finally. I only get guys who ask me questions.
You've worked with some incredible talent over your career, and I was just wondering if there's any current talent that you would love to work with, or someone that you've always wanted to work with that you haven't yet.
Who's the actress that's in, I can't remember her name now. Is Amy Adams? Is she in that boxing movie? Yeah, she's an unbelievable actress. What a talent. Yeah, I'd love to work with her.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, John.
Hey.
I hope this isn't a taboo question to ask a director, but are there any particular films you ever had the chance to direct that you passed on and then later saw and wish you had in fact directed?
No, not a one. Not a one. That's a terrible answer, isn't it? Sorry.
I'm glad you stole my question. If you're a fan of The Thing or Escape from New York like me, you couldn't imagine anybody else playing Snake or R.J. McCready. I was just wondering, was he the guy you imagined to play those roles? Did you offer it to anybody else, or exactly how that worked?
Offered it to Kurt Escape from New York first. I had a couple other guys in mind for The Thing, but ended up with Kurt. I won't tell you who.
That's okay with me.
All right.
Did you have a favorite TV movie that you ever worked on? I love
Elvis.
Elvis. And do you have a favorite movie from Nick Castle or Tommy Lee Wallace?
Every
or any of
movie
your
I've
friends?
ever done is my favorite.
Okay. Thank you.
Another babe, thank God.
I was 11 when Halloween came out, saw it in the theater. It was the first, that was the first horror movie like that, period. But I babysat a lot. I was scared. Why did you do that to me? I couldn't babysit without thinking like, oh, I heard a noise outside or somebody's at the door. And I've never been scared by a movie like that since. Just the fact that he walked slow and he was that confident he was going to get you. And yeah, the music was great. Why did you have to do that to me? Because I swear, for years, every time I went somewhere, I had to plan out where I would go if like the killer came in the room and everything. So I've never met you, and you had such a big, weird effect on my life.
Well, I thought about you before I made the movie. And I knew the effect it would have on you. And I wanted to scar you for life.
But you scarred me in a good way, but you did spoil me because I have a hard time being really scared by horror movies because they're too in your face.
I know what you mean. I think we will get the most scared when we're young.
And when there's not so much shown, it's like what you're expecting. And I mean, that's the worst thing. But thank you anyway.
Thank you.
I love all your movies.
Thank you. This is a great question. You're here, guys.
John, I was wondering if maybe you and Kurt Russell had any plans to do another movie anytime soon?
I don't know. We'll see. No plans right now.
All right.
In your movie, In the Mouth of Madness, there are a lot of very Lovecraftian elements. The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness are generally considered called your Apocalypse trilogy. I don't know
That's
if
right.
Something you coined or someone else. But in The Thing, the monster itself has a lot of characteristics of Shoggoth from Lovecraft's stories.
I hadn't thought of that.
Did you? Well, that kind of answered my question. Did you intentionally set out to put Lovecraftian elements in The Thing and say, hey, I'm going to make a trilogy based on these Lovecraft or influenced by these Lovecraft?
No, the trilogy idea just is about, these movies are essentially about the end of the world in one way or the other. Each one of them is about the end of things. They're apocalyptic. I might add, I'm not sure if I would, I might add Cigarette Birds as sort of a semi-apocalyptic tale. Not so much Lovecraft. Lovecraft is all in the Mouth of Madness. I'm a big Lovecraft fan, but the others, I never thought of that.
I agree on Cigarette Burns. It had a very Lovecraftian feel to it. It's fantastic for me. I hope you revisit that subject.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody getting really hot so they can't stand this anymore? Let's have another couple questions and let's get out of here. What do you say?
I wanted to know what you would say your favorite films, 2 or 3 favorite films from the last couple of years are, and what are your 2 or 3 worst films you hated?
I'm not going to talk about movies that I hate.
What did you like the last few years, a whole lot?
Social Network I liked a lot. I liked Inception a lot. And that's about it.
Sorry for the lack of women asking questions. I'll personally apologize for the sausage fest. But anyway, this is kind of an oddball question. Does anything stand out as like the weirdest, strangest, most offbeat, or most irrelevant question you've ever gotten asked at one of these kinds of panel events?
I have no idea. No, that's a good question. I don't.
That one?
No one's ever asked me. Never mind. No. I was going to say something dirty, but I can't.
I just have one quick question to ask before everything wrapped up here. I was wondering if there was ever a time on the set when you were directing, or maybe slightly before, when you had the original script, and then you had a conversation with an actor or someone, or just a spur of moment idea that led to the script being changed from the original one when you weren't expecting it, that actually had a good benefit.
Every day. Actors come in with ideas all the time. Our line changes.
So it's a constantly changing
But
process.
you can't let them change your narrative, or you're really fucked.
Just like
they can't change the story on you. They can't become the heroes. I had one actor trying to do that once. Charlton Heston. He was playing a supporting role. He kept wanting this rehearsal. We sat down and he's trying to work his way in so that he became the hero. That made me say, I really enjoyed working with Heston. He was a great guy, nice guy.
So it really is a ever-changing process.
Hell yes, but the actors bring it, man. You want every idea is good. There are no bad ideas. You want to hear everything that everybody says. Something may be genius. Listen, I want to thank you guys for coming tonight.